This is National Tea Time. Yes, God, everybody. My name is Alora O'Shaughnessy. I am your host for National Tea Time. Today, my very special guest is none other than Moltyn Decadence. How are you, Miss Moltyn?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this. I absolutely appreciate you doing this.
It's my pleasure.
So tell us about yourself.
I have been performing for just a little under 15 years, and I've been a Missouri resident for 9, going on 10 years this May. It's been a roller coaster of a journey, and I'm very excited to see how things pan out after COVID-19. And I'm excited to be here on the podcast.
Yes. I'm hoping things go smoothly after we're allowed to go perform and everything, but you know that's not going to happen.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting ride, one way or the other, for sure.
Absolutely. Remind me, what is your title again?
Currently, I am Miss Gay City of Fountains America, on my way to Miss Gay Missouri America.
Oh, fabulous. And what title and what year did you hold for the United States pageantry system?
I was Miss Gay United States at Large 2018.
Ooh, yes. I actually remember you coming to Arkansas and performing down here with Taylor, and that's how I met you.
Mm-hmm. It was one of my first stops on the trip, actually. She's from Miss Gay United States, and we've been friends since. She competed at Miss Gay Missouri in 2014, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a hoot to get to know her. So she was excited to have me down in Arkansas after I won. And I was pleased to come.
Oh, yeah, you were an absolute joy. You were actually one of the very first entertainers I saw perform Lizzo before Lizzo became who she is now.
Yeah, I've been a huge Lizzo fan for years. I met her randomly in Minnesota, the state that I won my prelim in. So it was just a weird full circle moment, actually, getting to just know her as an artist and love her work.
That's everything. What actually got you interested in drag and pageantry? What were some of your muses and inspirations that you looked to when it came to drag and pageantry?
I got started in drag pageantry really late in the game compared to most queens. I wasn't really involved in drag much at all aside from fandom until college. As a sophomore, I got roped into a fundraising event that our student body government was doing. So I joined 2 of my classmates and we put together a routine to Destiny's Child.
Yes.
That was lose my breath. And that was really the beginning of my love of just drag in general. And then after that, it was like a fish to water. It was the most exciting thing in my life at the time. So, I started auditioning for clubs and trying to get gigs. And at the time, I was really young and really green around the edges. And so it was difficult to break into the scene without any kind of drag credentials. No one really knew me. I was just kind of this young whippersnapper on the scene. So for me, pageantry came about really as a way to validate my art. People didn't really start taking me seriously until I started competing. And in Michigan, there were a couple of amateur pageant circuits that I'd kind of dabbled in. But really, it wasn't until professional level pageantry that people really gave me a chance. So after I won my first title, I auditioned for a spot at my first home bar. And it was kind of over after that.
Wow. What home bar are you with now?
At Hamburger Mary's in Kansas City currently.
Oh, I've always dreamed about performing at Hamburger Mary's. To me, that is the epitome of
It is
drag.
the Chuck E. Cheese of the drag world, and I love it for that.
Absolutely. I've only ever been to Hamburger Mary's once, and it was the St. Louis one. It was right after they held Miss Gay America for the first time in St. Louis. Dominique Sanchez, Mocha Montrese, and then the girl who gave up that year, Devastation.
Yeah. That was such a good pageant to watch that year.
Yes, it was. I had actually never been to Miss Gay America until that pageant, and the only reason we really went was because Dominique was the new show director over the Hamburger Mary's there. And so I was like, well, two birds, one stone. We'll go see Dominique and we'll see a good pageant. And that's how I kind of fell in love with Miss Gay America all over again because it's very prominent here in Arkansas. But until you see it nationally,
And it is a
ooh,
they do not, and it is a whole different
them girls
beast.
did not play that year.
It's my favorite. I
Oh,
started in Miss Gay America
absolutely.
pageantry, and I really don't think that I'll be satisfied with my pageant
Hmm.
history until after I win Miss Gay America.
Yes. Well, I'll be rooting for you.
Oh, thank you.
Why did you choose to compete for the title of Miss Gay United States at large?
I have always enjoyed performing in at-large pageantry. I have always been a bigger to medium-sized big guy. So in those kind of scenarios where I'm put together, I'm a 18, 20, so by no means am I super big. But when I'm competing against girls who are like a 9 and a 10, sometimes the critiques that some judges would give just about how my body would look in certain garments or how I would carry myself in certain categories was always really unusual. And I found that I didn't get that same kind of criticisms from at large pageantry. So I kind of settled into those pageant systems pretty early on.
Right.
And Miss Gay United States has always been on my registry just because some entertainers that I really look up to a lot in the industry have come through the system. Cody Collins, Jessica
Hmm.
Jade, Taylor Madison Monroe. They're just some really big names that I always really looked up to. And that you found a home there, Ginger Minge. So when I was looking for a new pageant home after my year at Continental, there were a lot of things that were aligning for United States. My drag sister, Aaliyah Martinez, was the reigning Miss United States at the time.
Hmm.
She competed 3 times for that pageant, and I had to miss all 3 times that she competed, including the time she won, because I was always either on assignment or in a show.
Right.
And so I promised her that if I was not currently in a pageant system, I would enter. I'd always been interested in the system, and so timing just worked out. So that summer, I entered 2 pageants, not expecting to win either of them, but I entered in one Miss Georgia and Miss Minnesota that year. So I competed at Miss Gay America and Miss Gay United States. And
Oh.
it was a doozy of a year, honey, let me tell you.
For one, those are two completely different systems.
They are.
I've always heard that United States is very closely related to as like scoring wise, like America is. But from me, just personally watching it and watching old videos, they're completely different.
They are. What the judges are looking for at United States compared to Miss America is what really brought me to the system. Miss America always prides itself on being a standard of excellence and
Hmm.
drag perfection. And United States pageantry carries themselves that same way, but the thing they hold at its highest esteem, I would say, probably is one of its core values, is that they really want the drag family that we all look for to
Right.
be a tangible experience, and then for that experience to be able to be expanded to include the entire country. And I wasn't sure when you hear someone say a phrase, we need to, be national and be united. It sounds a little tongue in cheek, cheesy,
Right.
but they really mean that. And I don't think I found a pageant family that has so many roots and so much love for each other than I found in Gay United States. And my entire reign was just full of love, and it was the best part. So I think in that aspect, I found something that I hadn't found at Miss Gay America before,
Hmm.
was that I found a smaller family to be immediately in love and involved in. And right from the jump, they made every effort to make sure that I was engaged, had resources, was connected with performers, and it was just beautiful.
That's fantastic. I interviewed Taylor on an earlier episode and about her reign as Miss Gay United States. She said it's just one of those systems where you just love being a part of the family.
You really do.
Even just as a competitor in the system, it feels like just one big family. And that's one of the reasons I'm competing for Miss Gay United States in the future. I'm not going to say when.
You'll love it.
I've always admired that about the Gay United States pageantry, that they do hold the be national, be united true to their hearts.
They really do. And I think JP and the whole national office, they really make that a forefront for them.
which is fabulous. And I think a lot of systems could do a little better about that, to be perfectly
Definitely.
honest. When you had decided to go for Miss Gay United States at Large, what was your process of picking your prelim?
Missouri at the time didn't have a United States prelim, so I really had to think critically about where I wanted to go and what pageant system I wanted to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the options that were available for the at-large system, and I think the contest that really spoke to me was Minnesota. It was a little bit further than I would have typically gone for a one-off pageant. I got to check off a couple of things on my list. They were hosting the pageant at the Gay 90s, and at the time, I'd never been to the Gay
I've
90s.
always heard about
I,
that place.
Me as well, and I've always wanted an excuse to go. And throughout the years, one just never presented itself. Either no one was interested in going with me, or I didn't know anyone that was there. Overall, I just never really had a good reason to find myself in Minnesota,
Right.
to be honest.
Let's be honest, who really goes to Minnesota just to go to Minnesota?
What I discovered is that nobody does.
Exactly.
So after, 5, 6 years of wanting to experience one of the largest, nightclubs in Midwest history, the pageant was being held there, and that was the sign that I needed. I was like, oh well, I guess I'll finally get to go to the Gay 90s this way. And so that was the one excuse for me to go. And the promoter was Kimberly Geist, and she's Brendana Dupree. She's a former Miss Gay United States. And she was just so forthcoming and so supportive. She had so many lovely things to say, what she just seen and heard about me in drag. And I was really excited to get to go and not just meet her, but get to become a part of that family. And it was
Right.
exactly what I was hoping for.
Did you win your prelim?
I did, actually.
So you were Miss Minnesota,
I was
United
Miss Gay
States?
Minnesota, United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would have been 2018 as well, right? Or was that 2017?
It was 2018.
2018. So you get to the national pageant. They don't do a top 10 or a top 12 or anything, do they?
They do.
Oh, they do.
Depending on the amount of girls. So we only had 11 entries. There were a lot of girls who didn't come through that were first alternates during that reign. So there were only 11 of us that year. We just did a top 5. So it was a little bit smaller and a little bit more intimate, which
Mm-hmm.
honestly made the competition that much more scary, to be honest, because you got to see and hear and really know everybody fairly intimately, which at other pageants doesn't always get to be the case. But I got to know every single girl that was competing that year, and we got to spend at least some time together. I was dressing another contestant who was competing for another division, as well as a lot of girls were that year, which I thought was also kind of amazing to see how deep those family ties really go there. I was there for 4 days instead of the single day pageant,
Right.
and it was just amazing. We got to be there for Miss, Mister, and at Elite.
Absolutely. I wouldn't mind going just to watch their national pageant because it looks like
It
it'd
is
just
a
be a lot
hoot
of
and a
fun.
holler. It really is. That whole evening was just a blur, really. There was so much excitement in the air and so many new people to meet that I either only heard about before or that I only met online. And
Right.
it was insane to get to finally put a name and a face to all of these people that have been floating just at the peripheral of my drag vision for such a long time.
When it came down to it, you're going through the pageant, they're announcing the top 5. And a lot of people who may not know about Gay United States pageantry is that the top 5 compete in onstage question and answer, which is
Yeah.
scary to me. I don't like question and answer. What was going through your head when they announced you as part of the top 5?
I was nervous, to be honest. Every other contestant besides myself had entered Miss Gay United States at large at least one time beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
except one contestant. But the one contestant was Dominique Chappelle.
Oh,
I know. So I was petrified. I was underprepared, comparatively to some of the other girls, just because I didn't have the experience to rely on to get me through some of the stressful points of the competition. So when they announced me for top five, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is happening? How is this going on? So they ushered us off, and I'm in complete freak out mode.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I'm trying to like hold my composure and not freak out. So I'm like, oh my God, I am this close to being Miss Gay United States at large. Like, I can't fuck this up. I can't. So we went over by a pool table, and my dresser decided that to distract me, we should not think about the question. We shouldn't think about preparing at all. And so we just took a couple of photos in the pool room to get my mind off the competition.
Yes.
So right up until they announced that it was my turn to go on, we were just posing over by the pool tables, completely unaware of anything that was happening. And I think to this moment that it's probably the thing that I'm most grateful for. When they finally did announce me for my question, I was caught off guard. I was so relaxed that I wasn't really ready to answer the question. And I don't think that I had time to let my nerves get in the way,
Right.
because that ended up being the category actually that put my score in to first place.
Oh.
I won every category but Americana Runway. But up until that point, we hadn't done final tabulation, so no one was really sure who had won talent yet. My gown was phenomenal, and I just have to thank my designer, GB Couture, for that. It really came together, and it was something unique, and it was different, and they hadn't seen anything like that before. So I felt really good about my evening gown, and my talent was really smooth, and I got really good responses. But up until question and answer, I didn't really know how well I was doing compared to the other girls, just because I had nothing to really base that on.
Right.
So when they announced me as part of the top five, it was like a complete shock. It felt like validation. It felt great, but at the same time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, we are now in the big leagues. Like, this is it.
Mm,
Like, it is go time."
right. For my curiosity, do you remember the question you got?
Ooh, I don't remember the
Well,
question.
damn.
But I remember the feeling of the question was in my wheelhouse. The I can't remember the details now, but I remember hearing the question and instantly having an answer for the question before they finished the question. Like, it was a great question. And then when you get a good one, a good solid answer, it was like that. Like, I heard it and was like, wait a minute, that's the question? Oh, okay, I got this.
Those are my favorite questions because it's like, oh, I thought about this multiple times. Let me just get this out of the way then.
It was literally just like that. And I remember answering the question, and I was the last in question. So I remember getting the question, answering it, and then leaving the stage and feeling like I won. I was like, oh my God. Like, that felt like a really solid answer. I might have just won the pageant if it's good. Like, if I won that category, I feel like I might have won the pageant. That's how I felt
Yes.
leaving the stage. And in that kind of fear where like you don't want to say it out loud.
Oh,
But I
absolutely.
was like, okay, maybe, okay, whatever. Let's let ourselves feel these feelings because that's real, and then let's move on.
Absolutely. So that brings me into the next question. They're announcing second runner up, first runner up. I mean, you've done all the categories, you've made the top five. What were you thinking? Did you think you had won when they started announcing the first runner up and second runner up and all that? Or did you think, oh, well, if they're giving those awards to those girls, did I lose?
I thought that was losing to Dominique Chappelle. I didn't feel like I felt like I'd won, but I wasn't holding enough trophies at the time. I was like, well, I'm not holding enough trophies. I don't think this is my time.
uh,
Because usually when you see the girl holding the most trophies, that's the girl that's gonna win. She's got all the trophies. Like, she clearly won, not
right.
knowing that they didn't announce some categories because I'd taken those as well. So I'm just petrified at the time, and they announced the second runner up, and I'm like, okay, I love her. She's great, awesome. And then they announced Dominique Chappelle as the first runner-up, and I'm like, oh my god! In that moment where your heart and your head are saying the same thing, it was the first and only time I've ever had that happen. Where I'm like, oh my god, did I just win? Oh my god, did I just win? And then they called my name, and it's on video, and it's probably my favorite moment of all of my life because I lose all composure.
Which
Uh,
is what you're supposed to do when you're crowned a new title. I'm just saying. It is
that's what
perfectly
I
fine.
always thought, and so it was. I'm grateful that I wasn't the teary-eyed kind of winner, but I wish that I had been because my response was so not attractive. Uh,
I'm
it
sorry,
was
but
like a fuck
crowning.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Whoever says that their crowning photos are attractive are clearly lying. I'm
Oh,
sorry. That's
and it was
everybody.
well, the thing. I wish that they were like ruined because I was teary-eyed or crying or anything like that. Uh, but no, they was it was worse. I was not ladylike in the least little bit. I mean, I did a full fist pump. There's a fuck yeah in the moment. And then there's a brief second where you see me realize what's happening. I'm like, oh, let me smooth my dress and get my life together for a moment. Sorry, I'm back.
Very that. Like I
It's
said,
on video, and I look at it. I'm like, girl, really?
send
You
me
couldn't
this
hold
video.
together?
I want to see this.
Oh, I will. But I'm watching it. I'm like, really? You couldn't hold together for like 30 more seconds, bitch?
Hell no, you just won a national pageant. That is
And
your
I
moment.
and I celebrated on stage hard, and I have regretted nothing.
Well, at least you have no regrets.
No, I would do it again because it was real. Because you see some girls win and they have the oh my god, I'm so excited, and the fake cries or any of that,
Oh, I
and there was
hate the fake
definitely
cry.
none of that. It was nothing but smiles and cheers, and to my surprise, the audience who because I was the new girl, they really only got to know me from either knowing me online or seeing what I brought that weekend.
Right.
So when I won, I was not expecting to get a very welcomed reception from the people that were there. But to my surprise, everyone was so excited and happy for me, which, I've won a lot of pageants at that point, but never one where I was the underdog or the unexpected winner.
Right.
So for me, it was the proudest moment of my life because the people that were there for everybody, not just me, but that were there supporting all the girls, they cheered for me like I was there, like I was the winner. And that I think is my favorite part of the night. It just became this big party about me and everybody was into it.
Absolutely. See, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I just gotta be patient. Damn it. It's getting harder and harder to be patient about it.
Patience is the hardest part.
It it really is. You've won. It all hits you. During your reign, what were some of the hardships you encountered? What aspects of your life truly changed after you got crowned?
For me, everything kind of changed, which was not what I was really expecting. So I, at the time, was a hairstylist, and I had recently left the salon that I was working at. I just was having a lot of emotional distrust with the
Hmm.
salon staff that I was at. So I needed to get out of that environment for me. And simultaneously, the bar that I was working at the time was going through some not so fun growing pains, and I decided that I needed to leave the showcast there, and so my life kind of fell apart right before. So coming back, I had a lot of just rebuilding in general
Right.
to do, and my emotional state just did not handle it well, girl. So I've always struggled just in general with issues around body image and body dysmorphia, and they came back 10, 20
Oof.
fold in that time frame. Uh, just because all of a sudden there were people that that I've known and loved and worked with, and admired for years, all of a sudden were looking at me in a completely different light than I was used to. And I didn't handle that part well at first. Because when I think about how I wanted my first reign to be and how I wanted it to go and all of the details, this was so far outside of the box of what I had planned
Hmm.
for that I honestly just really didn't have the emotional reserves for it at the time. And so now I dealt with a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, and being on the road did not help very much. Just because there was so little time to process some of those
Right.
feelings, they just had work to do. I've always been a fairly self-sufficient queen, so working on costumes, hair, and choreography and all of that still had to take precedent in my life, and now even more so. So I felt, the stress of not only do I have to look good and be good and perform well and whatever, but now I have to look good, amazing, and feel amazing, and be you know, this leader in a new capacity that I hadn't been
Right.
before. And when you're not at 100, it's so hard to give of yourself for people. But I've always been such a giver that I'm bad at self care, and so it was not unlike me to be in circumstances where I just emotionally didn't have what it took, but I was giving it anyway. Towards the middle of my reign, there was just a lot of things that just weren't going well, just in general. And I just crumbled. And I had to step away from a lot of things. So I left the bar that I was working at in the midst of all of
Mm.
that time. And I had to really take some time to focus on these. And I look back on it now and I don't regret it. But I remember doing a video blog about it at the time towards the end of my reign, just because there weren't a lot of prelims to sell. In all honesty, I didn't do a really good job of selling and securing new prelims just because I was so emotionally not prepared to do the kind of networking that was required of me. So when we had to open the contest to allow people to just pay their entry fee without doing a prelim, I took that very hard. But instead of crumbling under that pressure, I decided to use that moment as a place of strength to kind of share that part of my story and kind of talk about what was going on with me. And, opening up that way, I found a lot of peace and a lot of strength actually to continue on and to make what was left of my reign better than the beginning. And I'm really grateful for that.
Right. I don't know if this next question really is going to make sense now, but how did you overcome those obstacles personally?
Yeah, I did a lot of therapy and meditation, to be honest. I took the time that I could have taken to put into emotionally improving the
Hmm.
pageant. I took to really emotionally improve myself, to really think about why am I feeling these things? Why am I not feeling on top of the world after accomplishing one of my biggest goals? Like, what are those reasons? Why am I letting my, to use a RuPaul, and why am I letting my inner saboteur have this joy that I worked so hard for? And in doing some of that soul searching, I found some really great answers, and I relied on some really beautiful people to help me think differently about what I had and hadn't done at that time. And in doing that, I shared the journey that I was on, and I've been really, open and vulnerable about it. And I found that that's the only thing that helped. The therapy and all of that was good, but being open and honest about it all, that was the part that really, really let it sink home. In that time, talking about how broken I felt and how inadequate I felt, I found that so many entertainers that I loved across the industry were going through similar feelings. And I think that so much of us in the biz now experience those kind of feelings of loss
Right.
and guilt associated with our art on a regular basis, especially in the time of Drag Race, where it's very easy for us to feel belittled or unjust, or do all the things that happen when you compare yourself to to the Ru
Right.
girls. And I was definitely no exception to that. But sharing in therapy helped immensely. And you know, as I still struggle to overcome some of those issues, I am really grateful that it happened then instead of any other time because I was fortunate enough to have a platform and a voice that I could use to really encourage other people in that moment to do the same and to find themselves and to find the strength they needed to overcome their own demons.
Right.
And then I'm thinking in sharing that part of my story, I found a little bit more strength.
Good.
And it still do, to be
Right.
honest.
Absolutely. Changing it up here a little bit. What was your support system like while you were Miss Gay United States?
My support system was phenomenal. I've got a very small family network, so I never have the luxury of leaning on family very
Hmm.
hard during those kind of moments, just because there's 9 of us total. So there's just not a lot of people on that list for me to lean on that way. So I really had to rely on friends, and in a lot of ways, I relied on audiences pretty hard at shows that I host. I started doing this little bit called "And How Are You," where I would actually just like check in with a couple people in the audience and just ask them like, "How are you doing? How is life? How are things? How are you feeling emotionally? Like, are you okay? Are you well? Do you need resources? Like, what's going on? What's good?" And it turned into this really beautiful network of people that were either also feeling broken or people that were just going through the motions, just a lot of different things. And that was something that I had never expected. I've always been a fairly private person
Right.
in that regard. And so having to call on different friends that I never called on before, and looking at new relationships that I hadn't formed that became really important to me changed how I felt about everything. So my support system really came through.
I've always thought that having a good support system behind you is key to anything in life,
Oh,
not
definitely.
just pageantry, but everything.
I mean, I think a good support system can make or break anything.
Absolutely.
And in my case, I don't know what my life would be like now if it weren't for the folks that were there with me in the dark
Right.
times. Because there were just some moments where I just had to really, really find some good reasons to keep moving forward. And it's one thing to to feel like you want to give up on life. Like that's a darkness that happens to a
Right.
lot of us at so many different points in our lives. But it's a whole other thing when you can't think of a reason to continue on, and the only reason that you do is because you have to. And I found myself being like, I have nothing within me that's telling me to get up, get out of bed, and keep it moving. Like I didn't have that internally. It was only coming because I had work to do. I had pageants to go to and contestants to recruit. And I had these things to focus on, and it provided me with a lot of clarity. And it was not a very great time, but my support system really helped me turn my frown upside down and turn my negative into a positive as best as I could anyway.
One of the reasons I started looking heavily into the United States system was because of you. I saw your reign through social media, and I was like, I love this girl. She is
My name is
amazing.
awesome.
And you can tell through your social media that you're such a giver and you're a hard worker, and it shows. It really does. It
Thank
shows
you.
in everything you do.
I think that was the one thing that I can say that I was proud about my reign is that while I wish there had been more work done in my reign, and I think every
Oh
queen wants
yeah.
to have huge contestants and big pageants and lots of promoters and all of that, and I really wanted that. But the connections that I did make during my reign have been so tangible and so beautiful, and I think that people that I've either inspired or that I got the chance to recruit to come and compete have just become some of my most cherished friendships. There's people that I've met 1 or 2 times out of nowhere that I was able to have a really deep, meaningful connection with, and I just love it. Like London Rain from
Oh, I
Oklahoma, for
love her.
instance, she competed, And I do as well, but I never got to meet her. She was on a short list of people that I've always loved and admired watching online. And getting a chance to talk with her, to get her interested in the United States, and then seeing her come to compete was was
Oh, I
everything to
bet.
me. And like I when I told her, I was like, I've looked up to you for years. Like, you're awesome. I love your shit. I'm so happy that you're here. I think you would be great for this. And she did a wonderful job. And she's on her way back representing Kansas this year. And
Yes.
I'm really hopeful for her in getting a ticket. I really would love for her to join this this
She
time.
gives
So
you
um,
drag, though.
just all the drag,
All
honey.
of it and a bag of
And I
chips.
think queens like that, that's the, oh, all of it. That's the thing that I'm excited about. That's the legacy I'm happy that I got to lead during my reign is that the people that got to see it or experience or even watch it on social media, they were able to see that the one thing that was a lot of during my reign was a lot of love. And there was so much of it that I received and I was able to give back out. And I can never, ever, ever repay
And
that.
like I said, your reign to me was probably one of my favorite reigns because you showed nothing but love throughout your whole reign. Even when you were here in Arkansas and I had met you for the first time, you just radiated love from your body for some reason. I don't know how to describe it. It was just love. And then you're also a fantastic performer, and you did Lizzo, who I thought I was the only one in Arkansas who knew who Lizzo was at the time. So I was like, yes.
She has gotten me through so many things in my life,
her
honey.
her music alone is just it's feel good music.
I will challenge any of the listeners to put her on and to not have a shift in energy. Like it's so hard to, listen to a Lizzo track and not come away
Oh,
feeling amazing.
absolutely. And if you say you don't like Lizzo, you just lying to yourself.
Well, I personally don't trust those people because they're clearly lying to themselves and me, and I don't have
Very
time
that. Very that. What is the best piece of advice you got during your reign?
Oh, I think the best piece of advice I ever got was from Tiffany T. Hunter.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I just love her. She's been someone that I would love to consider a mentor in my life because she always is so personable and so honest and has so many beautiful things to say. But I was entertaining with her at rehab in St. Louis. Hey, rehab, and she just told me that 'cause she'd seen my one of my live videos and I was talking about me feeling inadequate as a ruler, and she just told me, she said, "Girl, you just have to remember that your reign is yours. It can't be anybody else. If you earned it, you worked for it. And good, bad, ugly, this is what you worked for. Like, if your reign's not perfect, that sucks. However, you worked really hard for it,
Absolutely.
and you have to make that yours. Like, your reign is yours. Like, regardless of how it looks, how it feels, like nobody can take that from you. Like, it's yours. And I think when I took that level of ownership, it changed. It changed me.
Absolutely. I can see why. You make the
And
year.
especially coming from
Oh,
Tiffany T. Hunter.
absolutely. You anybody who is like Tiffany T. Hunter or Milka Montrese or Shay Shay Larice, if they tell you something, you better freaking listen because they've been there, they've
Period.
done that, they know what you're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing.
Absolutely.
And Shay Shay was, as a former, was one of my biggest
Oh,
supporters during my
really?
year. Actually, she was there the night that I won, and in the video, you can hear her and Brandana in the background yelling at the top of their lungs like excitable aunties for me,
Yes.
and it's probably my favorite part. So I'm like, is Shay Shay Reese cheering for me? Oh
I will
my god!
say, and completely off subject, my favorite Shay Shay Larice video is from Miss Gay America. Oh, what was it? What year was it? It was in the 90s, I do believe, like 98, 97, something like that. And she did this immaculate talent. And she bucks the house down. And
Oh yeah, Shay Shay
this
goes
like
in.
fully fringed yellow costume, and it's revealing and it's sexy and it's just amazing. It's one of my favorite videos. I'll have to send it to you if you haven't seen it.
Please do. Yeah, you can't go wrong with Hillary. She's They don't call her Mother Gangster for nothing. She is a powerhouse of an
Absolutely.
entertainer.
She's one of my favorite people, and I will one day meet her, I swear. One of these days, I will meet her.
She will be at Gay United States. She doesn't ever miss it, and it's my favorite thing in the world. When you see entertainers that are like that, the sisterhood in the family is insane. The only former at large who couldn't make it the year that I won was Ginger Minge. And that's because she was on the Work
Right,
the World
right.
tour.
Can't fault her for working, making that coin.
At all. Like, and I think that's been my favorite part because when I handed down, they were all there again in Roanoke. And it was just amazing to, look out and see almost all of the formers and Shay and all of these people in the industry that I just love a lot were there and supportive, and it was just great.
So, what's your favorite memory from your reign? Like, is there any funny stories you could tell, or
Ooh, I think my favorite memory is the night we had excuse me, not the night after the pageant. So it was in New Jersey when I
mm-hmm.
won. The day after the pageant, I had my first appearance, which was craziness because they had Miss New Jersey the weekend after.
Wow,
So my sisters went back to New York for a couple of days, and I had to stay in Jersey and work. So we had a pageant right there, right afterwards. So, I didn't have the chance to have we had orientation that morning. And you like to think that you're as ready as you're going to be. And I did not get the chance to really feel
right?
ready. But the promoter was Ray Judy, and he had just handed down his title as
Mm-hmm.
Mister. And it was, it was insanely beautiful to watch, and it was such a moment. And I remember being so grateful for that because when you look at a promoter who is involved or familiar or invested in any pageant system, you can only want someone who wants to be there and loves being
Right.
there. And Ray was the most amazing promoter. I mean, he was a phenomenal mister in general, but the pageant itself was just great. There's like this cute little Latin club, and they fed us, and they had a little DJ, and it was just a
You're
beautiful night.
automatically my best friend if you feed me. Period.
Oh yeah, girl. Like, I'm in my crown eating enchiladas, and it was beautiful.
me backstage at Discovery in half drag, sitting on the counter eating. Done. I'm happy.
It was, yeah. And in Verona, she was the reigning who crowned me, and she was there. And when you think about what you want a handoff to be like, you always hope that you are going to be ready when the time
Right.
comes. Like, okay, well, so this is the first prelim. Like, we had orientation this morning. Like, I hope that I'm ready. And she was there with me the whole time, and it was such a beautiful moment to just see that happen. And the night before, I'd watched my sister Tajma Stetson win the title of Miss Gay United States
Mm-hmm.
2019. So we were just already on a group high just in general. I got to reign with both of my sisters. But my sister Aaliyah was Miss United States
Mm-hmm.
2018. So our little, and it's just the three of us in our little drag family. So the three of us got to share a brief moment in pageant history that that will never happen again. And I think that particular weekend was the coolest weekend.
That sounds like it was. That sounds like one hell of a weekend, to be perfectly honest.
It was a great weekend, and then we got to close it off with 2 extra days in New York to just sightsee. It was beautiful.
Jealous. Damn it.
It was beautiful. It was, yeah. Miss Gay United States 2019 I will say, was probably that weekend was probably the highlight of my career. It also was a turning point for me emotionally because I was just coming out of intense therapy at
Mm-hmm.
that point. So I was feeling good. I was feeling better about how I was navigating the pageantry world and how I was doing with them. And it all really came together there. And then I had a prelim the next day that was phenomenal. So that day was hard to top.
Oh, I bet. I absolutely bet that was hard to top. Many people know when you're a national title holder, you travel a lot. You are on the road more than you are at home. When it came to traveling, what did you learn about traveling with all the drag you needed for just one night or two nights?
Less is always more was the first one because we get the luxury of being in our home bars and near our home bars. We just bring a lot of stuff,
Right,
makeup you're not using, costumes you're not wearing, this or that. It's just lots of things.
right.
And so packing only a little bit more than you need, I found was the secret. And I said, if you've got one gown that you need, maybe bring a backup, but that's it. Like not like a backup and then another option. Like that's one too many garments. So streamlining the amount of things and just really bringing only a little bit more than is required of you was a huge saver in terms of like never going over on baggage weights or never having too many hands to carry. So that helps a lot.
Or, in the words of Taylor Madison Monroe, learning how to pack for 49.8 pounds.
Girl, and when I tell you that is the goal, when you get it weight, I'm like, yep, yeah, half a pound there, perfect. Because you're gonna pick up something, you're gonna have one other piece of jewelry or something else you're gonna come back
Oh,
with probably,
absolutely.
and you're gonna want those couple of pounds to play with. Uh, so I would say that learning how to pack a little less and learning how to carry a small amount of makeup, but in your carry on. That was the one thing that I got really good at.
That would be my problem because I like makeup a lot and I never know what I'm going to do with my makeup each time I get into drag. So that's probably going to be something I want to have to work on.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just comes down to like you have to start planning your face like you plan everything else, and
What?
yeah, it's hard when you really think about it. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do these eyes or have these options for eyes. So instead of bringing, four eyeshadows and three palettes and two pigments, like maybe I'll bring one eyeshadow palette and two pigments, and that's it.
One?
Girl, because 40, 50 pounds is too many. 49 or less is always the goal. And
One
so,
palette, though? That
girl,
hurts my soul.
when I because if you put your so going onto a plane, you've got your carry-on item and one small item. So you've got
Right.
your crown there, and in your crown bag you have your wallet, boarding information, and then you have your carry-on item. And then on there you need to be able to have an emergency piece of quick drag. So I'll either have like a skater cut dress or a gown with an A-line cut, a chiffon bottom or something, just in case, like something like you
Right.
put together. So one wig, one piece of quick drag, and then your face, and then an emergency set of boy clothes, and that's all that has to go in your carry-on bag. Because what'll happen is if you arrive and then your luggage is delayed, the gig still has to go on. And what you don't want to
Oh.
do is to end up having to go to Walgreens in the middle of God knows where trying to put together a whole face of makeup. But if you've got one look, one wig, your face in a train case, and then a set of boy clothes in a carry-on bag, you can at least get through to the gig while you wait for your luggage to arrive. In worst case scenario,
Right.
you only have the one look and you have to just make that work, which happened one time, but luggage arrived the next day, so it was fine. But even still, you just have to be ready for that.
I'd never really thought about that. What happens if my luggage don't arrive?
You have nothing
Oh,
then.
that's scary. That's
And aside from that,
scary.
but also if you have your makeup in your checked luggage, they're going to have to check that. So you've got any loose powders, any loose glitters, like any of those um, really messy items, they're gonna get opened and they never get it tight enough, and then you're gonna end up with it all over your bag.
Well, I've got a glitter palette, so I'm good. They
Yeah,
can't mess that up too bad.
yeah. I did not learn that lesson, so on my first trip, my makeup didn't make it till the next day, and when it did come here, I
Ooh.
had highlight and glitter everywhere in my bag. Uh, it was a
No.
nightmare.
I can only imagine. I'm very particular about who touches my palettes because, germs and all that. I don't know how anybody can just take one palette. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you really have to get creative. Um,
Because some palettes have a darker black and one has this really pretty red and then another one has a really pretty blue. See, yeah, that'd be my problem. And
yeah,
that'd
and
be a lot
so
of other people's problems.
yeah, and it was for a long time, but then you just have to really think critically about it. All right, like okay, I've got this much room, this much space. I've got 3 pounds left. Okay, what makeup am I not gonna take? And then you just have to start doing cuts. Like, well, okay, we're not gonna bring the red glitter because I've got this AB iridescent glitter, and that's the glitter option if I decide that I'm gonna wear glitter, and that's it. And it's a very OCD way to handle packing your makeup. But after that first incident, I never lost makeup. I never had makeup delayed. I never had anything broken. My crown survived without missing a stone the whole year, except for the tumble that it took in Arkansas.
I remember that too because your wig full on came off.
All the way. Well, the topper anyway.
I think I was actually running the light during that show. And I had a split moment of should I turn the light off or is that just rude?
I remember I did the base wig on, and and people are like shocked. I'm like, what? And then I look
Even
over,
Taylor was sitting going, "What just happened?"
and so then looking like, well, there's my updo topper and my crown on the ground. Okay,
And
well,
it full on just on the ground. I was like, "Well, did she
so like,
forget? Does she not know what happened? Wait a minute."
I had no, and that was the thing. Like until people like started pointing at it, I was like, what?
No, because you full on just kept performing. You kept your composure like nothing happened. And I was like, oh, at least she's not going crazy. Yeah, and then you notice it on the ground and it's like, oh shit.
Yep. And then it became a bracelet.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I remember that. Oh wow.
That comes
That
in as
was
number two for my favorite moments because I think watching an audience try to tell me that my crown fell, baby.
Oh, that was great. I hope to God that never happens to me one day.
If it does, just hope that your other wig doesn't come off because I think that would have been the only thing worse than losing a topper and a crown. As if I would have lost the base wig also, and then just been out there bald headed.
Did you have
Yeah,
Did you have your base wig on?
yeah, I was wearing an Afro updo, so the fro
Oh
and
yeah, that's
the
right.
crown came down, but I'm still wearing the base, luckily.
Okay, I remember that now. But I just remember that being hilarious. And I was like, do I turn off the spotlight? What happens? I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Someone help her.
And no one did with the worst part. They just looked at me.
They really did. No one tried to help you or nothing. They just kind of just pointed and stared at you.
I think a lot of folks were just shocked, as I was, that that even happened.
Well, you also have to think at Trinity, we get a lot of straight people. And
Yeah.
so, and the gays that go there, they're not the pageant gays. So they wouldn't be scrambling around to help you anyway. They'd be like, oh, well, she lost her crown. Oh, well.
Oh well.
Well, sucks to be her.
And that's
But I think the
basically what
people,
happened.
I think the other drag queens were like existential crisis because we're like, she's in the middle of performing, she's still going. What happens? What are we doing?
Just let her be, she'll figure it out.
Oh, it's on her arm now. She good. It's just a big old bracelet. It's
Sorry.
fine. So skip forward, Miss Gay United States at large. Yet again, you are giving up. It is your final performance. What are you feeling during this significant moment?
I had such an unusual response because I thought that I would have been so teary eyed and so emotional at the time. But when it all happened, I was so excited. You know, we had done such a great job that weekend. The contestants were so lovely uh, that when it all was said and done, I felt so accomplished. You know, we had a good contest. The turnout was lovely. The audience that was there at Roanoke was just some of the best people I've ever gotten a chance to work with. In that regard, it was flawless. It was phenomenal. I performed my final number. All I could do was be excited to find out who won.
And who did you end up crowning?
Taj Monet, which
Oh, yeah,
ironically
that's
from
right.
my hometown of Lansing, Michigan.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was a good tournament. Uh, and she's done such a phenomenal job so far.
And you really have to hand it to the reignings, the national reigners right now. I don't know if that's the correct term to use, but I'm using it now. They're having to go on until 2021.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that our national offices have decided to do that. It just gives
Absolutely.
it gives the entertainment an opportunity to really get their stuff back together. Aside from the uncertainty that most of us have dealing with COVID-19, those same effects are gonna really show and affect how girls fundraise for pageantry.
Oh, yeah.
It's I couldn't imagine trying to get ready for a national competition in October. I couldn't imagine it.
Yeah, that is a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been out of work since the beginning of March, and I'm looking at not going back to work until June, potentially.
And that's the sad reality for a lot of us. And these, I feel like some could have said something a lot sooner than others,
Oh,
but
definitely.
it's definitely a time where really shouldn't be focused on, okay, well, let's get this pageant out of the way. It's a time where we need to sit back and be like, okay, can this wait? Can our national title holders wait another year?
Yeah. And what I found is that most pageant systems realize that, yeah, we will be fine if we skip a year. And from a contestant standpoint, it gives you time to get ready.
And I better see some phenomenal talents
Oh,
next year.
God. I
You
think
know these girls are going to bring it.
people have so much time. Like, I qualified for Miss Gay
Absolutely.
Missouri this year, and they've postponed Miss America till next year. So they're holding our state level contest this fall once things reopen. So leading up
You in for a
to,
fight.
yeah. So we've gotten all of this extra time to get ready. And then from there, the winner of Miss Gay Missouri will have a whole year to prepare for Miss Gay America and to enjoy her
Wow.
reign. So that's gonna be phenomenal for a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It,
Absolutely.
uh, I hope to win Miss Missouri, and then I would love to be able to use that year to really bring a solid top 10 package to Miss Gay America as I make my return. And I think an extra year gives me more than enough time that I need to do that, but also just enough time to let, finances and my energy bounce back to where I need them to be.
Absolutely. And that brings me to my final question. What is your advice for any contestant going into Miss Gay United States at large?
Oh, for them to be themselves, the one thing that will set them apart in the contest is how they interpret not only just the categories, but how they navigate the pageant itself. So many of the categories are so cut and dry, but they leave so much opportunity for self expression. And that at some pageants, there's always a formula that somebody thinks you need to fit into, where your
Right.
gown needs to look like this, and your talent should be like this, and your presentation should have these elements, or those kind of things.
Very cookie cutter.
Yeah. And Gay United States, because they want to put the entertainer first, what they really value above all else is that individual interpretation of the pageant. I think that any queen who's able to step into a pageant arena is already taking a big leap. And when you're entering into a pageant system like Gay United States, that leap really is driven by how hard and how far you want to jump.
Right.
And I think that is really unique in a lot of pageants where you always, hear that, the judges are looking for this or the judges are looking for that or the judges want this or that. And at Miss United States, what the judges want is the best version that you have to offer yourself. And that was always unusual that well, the first time that I heard that in Minnesota, I'm like, that's an unusual thing to tell contestants. Like, you want us to be the best versions of us. Well, how is that what you're looking for? Like, isn't there like a formula? Isn't there like a former? Is there something? And they want, no, we want you. That's what makes any group of people a stronger, more united national presence, is if all of them are the best individual versions of themselves. When you put that together, it looks phenomenal and it feels the same.
That's interesting. Never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, because when you think about what Miss Americas or Miss USofA's or Entertainers of the Year look like, those are such large
Mm-hmm.
pageants with such rich
Right.
histories that it's difficult sometimes for an entertainer to enter into one of those contests without sacrificing some parts of themselves so they can, fit the mold that the pageant is looking for. And Gay United States was definitely not that. I came in and I was the most unlike the other contestants that were entering that year, and it worked out in my favor. I've never been a super amazing seamstress, but I make a little bit of everything. So I make 90% of my own garments. And I wanted to make sure that I got to do that at Gay United States as well. So for Americana Runway, which is the category that they just want you to be in all red, white, or
Right.
blue, only those colors and coordinating stones, I made a fun swimsuit. Well, it's going to be 80 something degrees out there. Let's get something cute. And other girls come out in ball gowns and feathers and back pieces, and I just came out in a swimsuit and a pair of gauntlets and matching pumps. And while I didn't win that category, every judge made a comment about, like, girl, I can't believe you just came out there in a swimsuit. I was like, well, my body was good, the hair was good, the swimsuit fit right, and it was all in the right colors. Like, they're like, yeah, you did that. I was like,
Then what's the problem?
thanks. No, and that was the problem. The problem was that wasn't a problem, and that was a beautiful problem to
Oh,
have.
absolutely.
I'm like, so y'all liked that? It was not what you were expecting. Oh, okay, cute. Because you typically hear that and you think, oh, well, now they're telling me they wanted me to change or whatever. And they were like, no, it was happy to see you because my character as a whole just tends to gravitate towards very ladylike
Mm-hmm.
fashions and very slutty fashions. And that's just how that seems to work for me. And so, coming out with, you know, everything but the kitchen sink is would have been easy for me to do as well.
Right.
But I came out with just a cute little pair of buttons and a swimsuit and sold it. And I think that being able to stay true to what your brand is and who you are as an entertainer will really set any contestant apart that's entering this Gay United States at large for sure.
And I'm sure that can transcend into the other,
Oh, to any
right,
pageant, definitely.
Miss Gay United States, Mr. It can even go into,
Femme
oh, yeah,
Fatale,
absolutely.
Icon, all of them.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you very much, Moltyn Decadence, for doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure just getting to know you a bit more.
Thank you for having me. It's been such a treat.
My name is Laura O'Shaughnessy, and this has been National Tea Time.